How well designed is your project organization? And of course, in any organization, you have different projects. First question, of course, is did you ever define what is a project for you, or is anything you do automatically a project, which means you will have way too many projects. And that, of course, also means that it's impossible to have proper administration with them. So, of course, when you have some sort of transactions or you have an undertaking, you have a certain idea, a development plan, not everything you do is automatically a project, because we now will go straight into what do we do well and how can we do better when it comes to a maybe, let's say, not perfectly well designed project organization. Because what we see right now is quite surprising. Some organizations now see we are facing the end of the pandemic, so they get back to what they have done before. It's interesting that you have organizations that now approach 2022 with their 2020 ideas, because when you just get back to what you've done before, you're using the ideas which are now 2 years old. 2 years old. If I had asked you 2 or 3 years ago, is your organization able, without any kind of positive or proactive change, are you able to survive on the market when you don't adapt to the circumstances for, let's say, 2 years? For 2 years. You would say, excuse me, Mr. Brabandt, we are not able to survive when we don't adapt for 6 months, not even talking about 2 years. So when you now come back out of the pandemic and you say, we just do what we've done before, that means you work with outdated methods. Of course, other organizations that offer the same services you do will be very happy. You're pretty much working for your competitors' market share now. Doing as you have done before is not a principle that works well. And when you say, "Oh, all projects are running well," that's what they always say. You know how the projects go. Everything's running well, and in the last quarter, or at least the last 10%, the usual issues happen. You either have heavy delays, people work long over hours, often not compensated in any way with time or money or vacation or whatever else to motivate them. In worst case, both. So you have delays and you work over hours, which not only quickly gets you into trouble with working protection laws, but also you will have a high employee turnover, low motivation, low productivity. Clients and customers will be very dissatisfied with your performance. And what do you do afterwards? You start the next project with exactly the same approach. Probably we should now rethink that idea, because often the next problem is that leadership is not even a topic. People say, when you're good at what you do, when you're good at what you're doing in your job, when you're good at your skills, then everything's fine. So there's no idea, no concept of someone being a good leader. They say, well, when someone is a specialist, very professional, maybe factually correct, technically correct, pretty much a functional job person, or just skilled in the technical abilities, they say everything is perfect. No, we need more than that. So the next problem we see is that leadership often is no topic at all in projects, except when you have the annual meeting where you tell everyone how important you are for the organization, to then get back to exactly what you've done before with no change whatsoever. And when you then see that the technically or the most skilled person nearly automatically becomes a leader, and we've seen that many times failing, I just give you the most well-known example. When someone is great at sales, would you agree that they are a great sales leader, sales manager, or maybe a chief sales officer in an organization? No? Why not? And now you would quickly, within seconds, you would say, well, when you work in sales, it's about people, visiting clients, one-to-one contact. When you are a leader, manager, maybe even on board level, it's a little about reporting, about numbers, how to empower others, how to create circumstances where others can thrive and be successful. It's not about you making the sale, getting the close and the applause. It's about others. And you're dead right. However, why in many organizations do you promote the technically best person or the skill-based best person without even considering, is this person able to lead anyone in your organization? Because if not, the employee turnover will be not only significantly higher than anyone else in the industry has, but also will be very expensive for you. So now we have to look at how to do it better. How do we implement a project organization which is modern? And step number one is the question that you have to ask yourself: do you have a PMO? Or did you ever had a PMO? And when you now think, yeah, I had it like last weekend in a restaurant around the corner. No, it's not a meal. It's not the meal deal what you think about. It's not the meal deal where classic British trade. It's not the meal deal where you go to Boots or any other place where you get the meal deal. Then you don't get the meal deal for £2.99 or £3. You pay £3.21, and then you are too British polite to complain about that. Get back to the office and complain about it all day long without telling anyone in the store that their tech is not doing well or doing the right thing. But that's a different topic now. We talk about a PMO, meaning a project management office. And by the way, if you say we don't have it, that's at least honest. That's a good point to start from. You say, I don't have it. Perfect. At least you're honest, because that is the starting point for a positive change. Project management, and by the way, when you now tell me, oh yeah, we have a PMO, HR is doing that on the side. So first, HR has enough to do. Just because you think they don't doesn't mean it's a fact. Just because you don't understand what they do, it's not a reason to talk down on them. However, no one does a PMO on the side. No matter what you have to do, you have plenty of work to do. No matter where you work from, you have enough work to do. That PMO is not an on-the-side job. It is rather a better idea to have someone on a part-time job, even when it's only for 3 to 4 hours a day, compared to having no PMO at all or having someone does that on the side PMO. Because I have never seen a on-the-side PMO working properly or doing what they should. If you now have a PMO, you have to think about how well are they doing? So, for example, how proactively engaged are they with different projects, or do people have to go to them? Do they do active project portfolio management? Are they allowed to see where are synergies in the organizations? Or maybe we have different projects that have contradictory ideas, and we have to talk about that very quickly. Also, who is part of the PMO? Did you hire people who are looking at Microsoft Excel sheets and maybe at your Primavera portfolio plan, or maybe at your Microsoft project plan? Of course, administration is helpful, no question about that. However, that is not the core idea, not the core concept of a well-running PMO. What is the quality of the people you have in your PMO? If you want to have great people in your project management office, you need people who've done it, who've been there, and these people come with a price tag. But these people also know how to manage projects properly. And that is tremendously important when it comes to having a PMO that actually creates value and not only administers Microsoft Excel sheets, because that's what many people connect with a PMO. People do Microsoft Excel sheets, send you questions via email, annoy you during work, and no one sees what they're actually doing and why they are actually getting paid for what they do. So how to do it better? Step number 1, have a PMO, no matter how small it might be, but have a PMO. And by the way, when you don't like the term PMO, call it differently, but have something that represents the spirit, the idea, the concept of a proper PMO. Step number 2, how to do it better. Please distinguish between your leadership career and a skill-based career. Of course, it's great when your best leaders are highly skilled. That is the perfect situation. However, that is something you rarely find on the market. You often have people who are either better leaders or better when it comes to technical skills or skills of the job they do. When you now have people who want to have a career, be sure that you offer both paths. When you say a skill-based career, being an expert or a specialist in a certain area, has an income cap on a certain level, don't be surprised that people who are completely unsuitable for a leadership position push themselves into one based on, I'm the best person on skills, so make me a leader, please, because they want to have the money. Of course, now you will say, not everyone is driven by money, correct, but some people are. And even I would say that I am partly motivated by money. So when you say skills only give a mediocre income, don't be surprised that people want to become a leader who are completely unsuitable for the position. It cannot be the right way that you say only higher level leaders make a decent amount of money, because you will not find enough people who are able and willing to do the job on the technical, on the skill-based side otherwise, or you will lose them because they simply, when they see they hit the glass ceiling in your organization, they will go to a different organization. And you know, when you're a mid-sized business, you want to compete with corporate, they're going to outperform you easily on income. And then you say, yes, it might be a bit more stressful or less enjoyable to work there. Yeah, but a 30% income raise is a 30% income raise. That for many people is quite something, even after taxes. So look at, and that's the second part of how to do better, look at your careers. Who is participating in your projects and which careers do you offer? And by the way, it must be a valid approach and also a financially beneficial approach to choose one career or the other. Both must have a financial and also from your well-being and of course from the confidence of your job, a good level of income should be just the minimum you have to offer on both sides. But now we come to the main point, and that is point number 3, aspect number 3 of how to do it better. So first part of the third point is, don't expect that anything works what you did in 2020. When you say we are now getting back what we have done before the pandemic started, it means you try to engage with clients in the year 2022 with 2-year-old ideas, and you will fail because someone else on the market will have figured out how to do it better than you. So, for example, and now we get to different aspects of point number 3, of aspect number 3. So look at digitization. How digital is your office? Do you still print when it's not legally necessary to print? I can tell you my office since 2015 does not have any printers anymore. And I don't need any printers. When there's a legal obligation to print something, then I go to a copy shop. And last year, I had less than 20 copies to print there. And these were only highly official documents where some law said this document is only valid in print. And these laws become less and less. By the way, to our German listeners, I know it's different in your country, and I feel really sorry for you. So I hope that you will be able to figure it out to have proper digitization and maybe stable internet connections in the very near future. So what is the level of digitization in your organization? If you are not well equipped on the digitization side, you have to change that very quickly, because you will not be able to win any future deals because you're just too expensive. Having no digitization is an expensive venture, and people do not appreciate when they pay for your paperwork. Then, of course, you have to see what about real participation, and are people able to participate in your organization, especially when they are not located where you are right now. So besides having real participation, what about remote scenarios, work from home, work from anywhere, hybrid scenarios, anything in between? Do you have a proper plan in place how to run projects? Maybe if another variant comes back, or maybe the pandemic completely disappears, or anything in between. And if your plan is, we will see, you can do that, which means you sign up for the highest risk category, being completely unprepared, and then you try to just wing it. And when you try to wing it, you will always lose against any competitor that is well prepared for these situations. So look into digitization, real participation, and every bit of remote or on-site scenario and anything in between you can have. And also look at how do you do client contact. If you're heavily relying on on-site meetings, I can tell you this will not be the future. Some of these on-site meetings will come back, many will not. How do you do online presentations, online pitching, online sales, online client negotiations, or maybe conflict resolution? How modern is your communication? I just recently moved, I can tell you, and I have an additional apartment now. More about that in some future episodes. But one thing was very sure: after I got this apartment, I do not have a single supplier in the project I'm doing now where the means of communication are not modern. So when you tell me, oh, you can reach via phone, we are open from Monday to Friday from 9 to 5, and maybe, how generous, Saturday from 9 to 12, you will not do any business with me. I mean, email answers is the standard already. Do you have any other modern means of communication, meaning Signal, Telegram, WhatsApp, social media? When I contact you on these channels, do you actually get back to me? And if not, why did you open the channel in the first place? How modern is your communication? And last but not least, how modern is your leadership? As a client, I quickly realized when you have a high employee turnover, low motivation, and also a low productivity. Leadership is not a nice to have, and stay away from going down the road of the person with the best skills is going to be the next leader. I talked about that before. You have to offer different levels of career. However, you sometimes have people who are mediocre at skills, but excellent leaders. So be aware that leadership will be crucial in the world you're facing now, in a world where the pandemic comes to an end. Because back in the days, you probably had a market where you knew who are your competitors. Today, especially when you offer a service which can be done remotely or partly remotely, and especially with international deals, suddenly anyone with an internet connection is your competitor because they are allowed to deliver their services from their companies to any other country as long as there is no embargo or other legal limitation on it. So you have way more competition than before. The barrier to enter the market is way lower, and you do not want to be the company that suddenly gets called out for not being prepared for the post-pandemic future. And the post-pandemic future is hugely driven by leadership, but also, of course, by the people who do the job and have the skills. And you will find, or you have to find the right way, how you want to balance these two issues amongst each other. If you need more about that, I published an article about it as well. Just go to expert.nb-networks.com. When you put in your email address there, every week you get one email, just one, 100% content, ad-free guarantee. There's never any advertising. And everything that I publish during the week is accessible in just one email, which you get every Wednesday morning. And when you now say, Niels, I actually have a question about our situation, contact me and we have a chat about it. Doesn't cost you anything. nb@nb-networks.com. And then we have a chat and we see what we can do. Of course, when you now say, hey, we need someone about project management, what about training, seminars, workshops, speaking, coaching, speaking at our events, consulting, mentoring, or for long-term project interim management, if you need anyone there, contact me as well. But I'm happy to just have a chat with you about what's going on in your organization and how can it be better. nb@nb-networks.com. And now one thing is important. Apply what you heard in this podcast this week. Because without applying it, you will have great plans how to make your projects better. However, the reality will not change when you don't put them into practice. So apply what you heard, because only when you apply it, you will have the change that your projects now need to see in a post-pandemic world. I wish you all the best implementing these aspects into your organization. And for this week, there's only one thing for me left to say. Thank you very much for your time.